Thanks for joining us on the John Mendola Show. We're driven by McCarthy Tire and Automotive Centers. Let's talk Bloomsburg University football. Spring practice underway. Head Coach Paul Darragh joining us right now. Well, Paul, getting ready for your annual spring game. Tell us about how camp's gone.
Well, it's gone well. I think every year, I'm kind of asked what our goals are, and it's always been really the same. You try to develop your depth and find out who the guys are that are going to replace who you lost through graduation, and you try to do all that with trying to stay healthy as well. I mean, and that's a critical part because, you want to be able to come back to camp with everybody who's going to be playing on Saturday. So it's gone well. I think we have identified pretty much our two deep right now in both offense and defense, and even in the kicking game. So we got one more week to go, and I think we're still looking for a couple guys to step up and show what they can do. But we certainly have done well so far through spring, and looking forward to one more week.
Well, what a senior class you got there. I mean, you've been with Bloomsburg a long time, but as the head coach, to get a group like that with an NFL pro day and the whole 9 yards, I mean, that was a special group. But as you say, people move on and people graduate. This next group, they're going to have little challenges with that leadership role.
Yeah, and you're right. This senior class was as talented across the board as we've ever had. Obviously, the individual accomplishments and along and even with the team. But, every year we seem to say, boy, we're going to miss those guys and somehow find a way to replace them and have some guys step in. But I do think we do have a good nucleus of leaders coming back with, our captains. Justin Chirk is a captain again for the second year, senior Mike linebacker. Ryan Geiger, who is played for us last year at guard, who might play a little center for us as well this year, was elected just only the second junior to be elected captain. Justin Chirk was the first one. The third one. Chris Steck was that as well. But and then Tim Kelly, who's been our starting quarterback now for the last 2 years, has to take on that role. Didn't really have to be a leader the last few years, but now I think that's a role that he's going to relish and take it on his shoulders. So. But we have another, several seniors that will help provide the leadership, and they understand it. It is going to be, as every year, a tough task to replace those guys and play as well as we played as a team all year. But we're preaching it from day one in spring, and it's going to have to be a team effort in order to win. So I think we've done well so far through the spring of having the leadership we're going to need for the fall.
We're talking Bloomsburg University football here on the John Mendola Show, driven by McCarthy Tire and Automotive Centers. Paul, how about health-wise? How you guys shaping up? I know, one of the guys from northeastern Pennsylvania had an injury at the end of last year, Tomas Cabrera, who contributed a bunch in the secondary. How's he doing right now?
Well, he's actually not going through spring. We actually have probably, I think, about 5 defensive starters that are not participating in spring for either injury. We have a couple guys that are recovering from surgery, just like Tomas, or, like Brian Clark did last spring, and Larry Webster. They kind of sit out the spring semester to get their last semester of eligibility. It's a 10-semester role in Division II. So we have about 7 guys all together that are sitting, and I think from an injury standpoint, Tomas could, if he had to, he could come out there and play right now, but he just has been cleared or getting close to being cleared, and we're going to let him sit so that he's 100% healthy for the fall. And so that's some added comfort. You'd like those guys to go through spring, but also we know that the majority of them are good players or some of our best players like Tomas, so it'll be good to have them 100% healthy in the fall. And I think he's kind of chomping on the bit to play too. So we're just going to hold him for the rest of spring and look forward to getting him back in August.
Paul, how about this freshman class that you have coming in recruiting-wise? And it's always a busy time of year when you guys are out and about and doing that all through the fall and through the winter to sew everything up. How do you feel about it?
Well, we feel like we accomplished what we were trying to accomplish in regards to each position. We target, every year we kind of target certain positions to have an emphasis. The wide receiver position was an emphasis. We actually brought 2 young men in January, Raekwon McDougan and Carlin Quillard, who's actually from Scranton High School. They came in January, along with a fullback, Andrew Forgash, who's from Hanover. So we hadn't done a lot of that before. So we brought in a couple guys that would be part of this recruiting class, but came in January to get an early start. So that was good. We identified and got 7 offensive linemen to provide depth and help replenish what we lost through graduation. The receiver position, we did hit some marquee guys out, a couple guys out of Philly. Lamont Veal, who's a track and can run. We have DJ McFadden, who used to be a basketball player that was recruited by Bloomsburg at one time for basketball, who gives us some size at the wide receiver position. So the offensive line and wide receiver positions were the ones we targeted, and I think we kind of hit our mark that we wanted to. And then we're bringing in the 5 defensive backs that provide depth, because we have some good players. We just don't have a whole lot of depth in the secondary. So I think those were kind of the points of emphasis in recruiting, and I think we hit it. You never know till they get here, but on paper, we're excited about the class. You know, we always anticipated we'd never have a lot of freshmen playing. I think that's a good thing, but we're always going to need 1, 2, or 3 of them to provide some playing time right away. Last year it was Lawrence Elliott at wide receiver and Will Wagner, our punter. And we're going to need a couple of the freshmen to kind of provide some depth and playing time for us this year. And I think this class will do that. So we're excited. It's going to be a lot of competition in the fall, including these guys coming in. And I think that's just going to make us a better football team.
And how about Joe Parsnick in the backfield? Tell us how he did during the spring.
He's doing well. He just had a couple nice runs in the scrimmage the other day. And I think what Joe does is another probably strength of his game. He's smart. He can play in all the different packages that we have offensively. So I think we're comfortable with Joe lining up at tailback, but also lining up as the one back in our one back grouping. So Joe's part of a tailback position that has a lot of depth. And you know, when Franklin graduated, we didn't really go out and recruit a lot of tailbacks. We brought in one young man, but that was because of who we have in the program we were comfortable with. And I think we moved Lawrence Elliott, who I referenced, played wide receiver this past fall, back to tailback, which I think is his natural position. So along with Joe, Deshaun Munger, and Lawrence, Tariq Mosley, Rasheen Tukes, we have a stable of running backs that are extremely capable. And I think, you know, not one individual might be able to be as prolific as Franklin, but I think as collectively, like we have done in past years, you know, that group will help give us the kind of production we're going to need at tailback. And Joe will definitely be one of those guys.
Well, football's in the air at Bloomsburg University. People excited about it to come out this weekend. A lot of alum will be at the stadium, so we appreciate your time, Paul, and best of luck.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks for having me again.
Bloomsburg University football here on the John Mendola Show, driven by McCarthy Tire and Automotive Centers.